Hello, everyone. It's nice to see you. My name is Ryan Biracree. I'm the Digital Services Coordinator at the library, and this is my house. And it's very nice to see you all today. Um, Feel free to say hi in the comments. And we're going to read a couple of stories today, both of which are by the same author. So the first story we're going to read is about going on a fantastic adventure from your own front yard, and something that comes alive in your front yard. Now I know that a lot of us are sort of trapped in our homes at the moment, and it can be hard to think about going on adventures, but there's lots of adventures that you can do, um, right, in your imagination. Um, so this is a book called The Land of Long Ago, by a writer named Elsa Beskow. She lived about 100 years ago, and her books are in the public domain, which is very nice. And she wrote a lot of wonderful story times and things like that. So we're going to look at these two books today. My Facebook Live is having some issues. So we're going to, or my Facebook Live is fine, my Instagram Live seems to be, okay, anyway. Let's read this book today. This is The Land of Long Ago by Elsa Beskow. Deep in the woods lay an old, fallen down tree trunk. It was covered in moss and its roots stuck out like legs. It looked like a dragon from a fairy tale. Two children, Kai and Kelly, lived in the cottage nearby. They often rode on the tree trunk, and in their games it became all kinds of wonderful things. Sometimes it was a horse, sometimes a dragon, or sometimes even a crocodile. One day, the children were in the woodshed looking for a stick to use as a riding crop when they found a broken umbrella. They decided it would make perfect wings for their dragon, and they fastened it to the old tree trunk. It made him look real. They ran back to the cottage to look for a bridle and reins so they could fly their dragon. In a hollow oak tree nearby lived a mischievous gnome who liked to play tricks on people, even though he was hundreds of years old. When the children went into the cottage, he sprinkled a magic potion over the tree trunk and it came to life. Kai and Kelly soon came back out with a rope for the bridle. They sat on the tree trunk and shouted, "Fly out into the world, dragon!" The tree trunk began to creak and groan. Then it rose up into the air, grunting and growling. The children held on tight so they didn't fall off, and the dragon asked them, "Where shall we go?" Kelly was too scared to make a sound, but Kai said, "To the land of long ago, please." The dragon spun round, sending moss flying everywhere, and flew towards the sea. And far beyond the sea lay the land of long ago. A terrifying dragon with sharp teeth and claws rushed toward them. Kai and Kelly ran back to their own dragon, who quickly. Oops, we skipped a page. Kai, Kelly, and their old tree dragon flew over the ocean for a long time until they reached a small island. The children were tired, so they stopped to rest. They clambered off the dragon's back and wandered along the shore. They soon came to a meadow where a princess sat crying. "Why are you crying, princess?" asked Kai. "I'm all alone," sobbed the princess, "and my knight is locked in that tower over there." "How can we set him free?" said Kelly, but the princess shook her head. "The iron door is shut tight with huge locks." "Who's got the key?" asked Kai. "The king of the trolls," replied the princess. "He lives over on the other island with his flock of sheep. But quick, run away. Here comes the dragon who's guarding me." Here is we go. A terrifying dragon with sharp teeth and claws rushed toward them. Kai and Kelly ran back to their own dragon, who flew quickly into the air. The wicked dragon hissed and leaped, but had no wings to fly. The old tree dragon laughed and flew down low over his head. But Kelly wanted to help the poor princess. "Let's fly to the other shore," she said, "to find the king of the trolls." They flew over the sea to the other island. Kai and Kelly climbed down from the dragon's back and headed off to find the king of the trolls. They knocked at a big wooden door. "Who's knocking at my door?" thundered the king of the trolls. "Just two shepherds who would like to herd your sheep," said the children. The door opened and the king of the trolls looked out. "You're very small shepherds," he grumbled. "You're no use for herding my sheep." "Yes, we are," answered Kelly. "We've herded our father's sheep for 2 years." "Well," mumbled the troll, scratching his head, "I suppose I could give you a try. My old sheepdog needs a rest, but if you lose just one of my sheep, you'll be in trouble." The old sheepdog was very happy to get some help. He lay down and slept all day while Kai and Kelly looked after the sheep. They were very careful not to lose a single sheep. But how were they going to get the key to the tower and rescue the knight? One evening, Kelly was singing a song to the smallest lamb. "Sleep, my lamb, with your soft white wool. The sun is shining bright and clear. The grass is growing fresh and green, making food for my little lamb. Sleep, my lamb, with your soft white wool." When Kelly looked at the troll staring at her. "What are you singing?" he asked. "Sing that song again." So Kelly sang the song again. "You will sing that song for me while I fall asleep," said the troll. "I can't do that," said Kelly. "The song is only meant for sweet little lambs." "If I act like a sweet little lamb, then you can sing the song for me," said the troll. "If you give me the key to the tower where you've locked up the poor knight, then I might sing the song for you," said Kelly. The troll scratched his head thinking. Then he pulled out a big key from his pocket. "All right then, but now you must stroke my hair like you did with the little lamb," said the king of the trolls. Kelly promised that she would, and the troll lay down in the grass with the big key next to him on the ground. Kelly sang her song again and again, and the troll grunted happily. As Kai guided the sheep back toward their shed, he couldn't help but laugh at Kelly sitting there, singing her pretty song, "Sleep, my lamb, with your soft white wool," while stroking the thick, black, dirty hair of the big, fearsome troll. The king of the trolls fell fast asleep, and he snored so loudly that you could hear it from far away. Slowly and gently, Kelly took the key and ran with Kai to the shore to wake their dragon. They flew to the other island and clambered up the hill in the moonlight to the knight's tower. They unlocked the heavy door and freed the knight from his dark prison. He was very happy to be free at last. When they woke the princess and she saw her knight, she laughed and cried with joy. Then they crept very quietly past the sleeping dragon guard. But just as they reached their old tree dragon, the wicked dragon woke up. He clawed at the poor old tree trunk and snapped off some of its roots. The knight pulled out his long sword and cut off the wicked dragon's head with a single blow, and they set off to the princess's land. The sun was rising as they reached the princess's land, and her palace glistened like gold. She was very happy to be home again. When they reached the shore, the old tree dragon lay down to rest. He'd carried a heavy load and flown a long way, much further than it looks in these pictures, and he had been badly injured in the fight with the dragon. So Kai, Kelly, the princess, and the knight walked without him up to the great palace. The people were overjoyed to see their princess return. They gathered around to wave and cheer. Blaring trumpets spread the good news throughout the kingdom. When they saw their daughter home at last, the king and queen ordered a great feast. Kai and Kelly wore the finest clothes with crowns on their heads. It was agreed that the princess would marry the knight. The king had hoped she would marry a prince, but this knight was brave. He had slain a dragon, so the king was happy. Kai and Kelly walked down the aisle behind the bride and groom, holding the long train of the wedding dress. The wedding lasted for 7 whole weeks. Despite all the fun they were having, the children were starting to feel quite homesick. When the wedding was over, they agreed to ask their friend, the old tree dragon, to take them home. After the wedding, the royal couple sailed off on their honeymoon, and the children headed down to the shore to find their dragon. But while they'd been enjoying themselves up at the palace, the old tree dragon had been lying in the hot sun, and he'd begun to rot. All the children found on the beach was a pile of broken wood. "What can we do?" they sobbed. "How will we get home?" The king and the queen comforted them and let them stay in the palace. They gave them lots of presents and let them play in the royal gardens all day long. But the children really weren't happy because they wanted to go home. Outside the palace gardens was an enchanted forest, and one day the children saw some troll children staring through the golden gates. They looked so dirty that Kelly took pity on them and let them into the royal gardens. She washed them and combed their hair, and Kai let them play at being soldiers. But when the king and queen came by, they were angry to find troll children in their beautiful gardens. The king chased the trolls out and locked the gates firmly behind them. He sent Kai and Kelly away to school to learn proper lessons like a real prince and princess. School in the land of long ago wasn't much fun. They weren't allowed to go to the same school. There were no other children to play with. Kai had to read big, heavy books and learn to write difficult letters. The ink always made big splotches where he wrote, and the monks were very strict. Kelly learned to read and learned to sew with gold thread, but the thread always got tied in knots which made the nuns unhappy. One night, as dawn was breaking and Kai lay awake thinking of home, he saw a little gnome climbing through his window. It was the gnome from the hollow oak tree at home. When the gnome saw how much Kai and Kelly's parents missed them, he felt bad about the trick he'd played, and he set out to look for the children. He was so happy to finally find them, and he signaled for Kai to follow him through the window. And who was waiting outside? There was Kelly sitting on the old tree dragon, who was alive again. The dragon was so happy to see Kai that he leapt around like a puppy. The troll children had shown the gnome where Kai and Kelly were. They had gathered together all the pieces of the old oak tree trunk, and the gnome had sprinkled magic potion over them to bring the old tree dragon to life once more. Normally troll children don't like humans, but they liked Kai and Kelly, who had been so kind to them, and they gathered around them now and cheered. And so Kai, Kelly, the gnome, and the tree dragon set out on their long journey home. As they flew over the king of the trolls' island, the noise of the dragon's wings woke him up. He sat up, confused. Kelly's lullaby had sent him to sleep for all that time. Look at that happy tree dragon. The old tree dragon flew faster and faster until at last the children saw the forest and their little cottage. The parents were outside raking hay when they heard a loud noise in the sky. They looked up to see Kai and Kelly flying through the air wearing gold crowns on their heads. You can imagine how happy they were. While they hugged their children, the little gnome hurried back to his hollow oak tree, before anyone could blame him for his little prank. The old tree dragon threw off the torn shreds of his umbrella wings and lay down comfortably in his old spot. No one would ever make him fly again. He closed his eyes and fell asleep. Kai and Kelly didn't jump and ride on him anymore. They knew that he needed to rest. They patted him gently and said, "Thank you for our adventure and for bringing us home." Do you have anything like that tree dragon that you like to play with at your house? Anything you think might be a little bit alive when you're not looking? If you do, send us a picture. We'd love to see it. The next story I'm going to read is another book by Elsa Beskow. It's called The Children of Hat Cottage. And I like this book because it's about something bad that happens. And it's about being able to fix it and finding helpers in places that you might not expect. Which is something we always need, especially right now. The Children of Hat Cottage. There once was a little man who lived in a mossy tree stump by a lake. He could mend shoes, make things out of wood, and he was very good at catching big fat trout from the lake. His tree stump house was cozy and warm. In the middle of the lake was a small island, where a little woman lived with her children. Sometimes she rowed across the lake to borrow a fishing net from the little man. Sometimes he made shoes from fine bark for her children. The little woman and her 3 children lived in a little cottage. It was the shape of a hat. They called it Hat Cottage. The children loved their little cottage, and their mother kept it as clean as a king's castle. One day their mother said, "I have to go to the mainland to buy yarn to make you some new clothes. If you're good children while I'm gone, I'll make sweet honey cakes for tea." The children loved sweet honey cakes. They promised to be good. The little woman rode to the mainland and knocked on the little man's door. "Can I buy some yarn from you?" she asked. "I'll take as much as you have. My children spend all day running and climbing and sliding and tumbling, and their clothes are worn out." "I'm sorry," said the little man, "but I don't have any yarn. Ask the spider next door." But the spider said she needed all her silk. The little woman asked anyone, and no one had any wool. At last she met a snail boy on the road. She had to bend down to hear his quiet voice. "Follow this path all the way to the swamp," he whispered, "and there you'll find more cotton than you can carry." The little woman set off straight away. It was a long way to the swamp, but it was full of cotton grass with fluffy white heads of cotton. Back at Hat Cottage, children wondered what they should do until their mother came home. "I know," said the oldest boy. "Let's make Mother happy by sweeping the chimney. Just last night some soot fell into her cooking pot, and it'll be great fun." They collected twigs to make brushes and had a wonderful time climbing up and down inside the chimney, sweeping it clean. The chimney was clean, but the children were not. They were covered in black soot from head to toe. "Quick, we need to get clean before Mother comes home," said the girl. They took off their clothes and had a bath in the lake. Now they were clean, but their clothes were still as black as darkest night. The girl thought for a moment. "Let's wash our clothes like Mother does on laundry day. Make a fire to heat the water. We can hang them in the sun to dry afterward." So they gathered lots of twigs and sticks and branches, big and small, and built a bright, roaring fire. They were having such fun that they didn't notice the flames getting higher and higher. Hello, everyone. If you're here, feel free to say hi. The little man had gone fishing in his boat. He was watching the fish dance in the clear water. Suddenly he smelled smoke. He looked across the lake and saw a big fire on the island. As fast as he could, which was quite fast because he was a good rower, he rowed to the island. The children saw him coming and hid behind a rock. The big fire had already reached Hat Cottage. The little man threw water on the flames. "Come on, children," he shouted. "Don't be afraid. Help bring more water." Hat Cottage. The little man and the children filled his whole boat with water and tipped it onto the fire. Smoke was swirling everywhere, and they could hardly see Hat Cottage anymore. When the smoke cleared, Hat Cottage had disappeared. There were no walls, no door, no chairs, and no roof. There was just the chimney and the cooking range left. Everything else had burned down. The children cried and cried. Mother would be very, very cross and very, very upset. "You are naughty children," said the little man, "and this is your fault. Stop crying, and I'll help you build a new house for your mother." The children set to work collecting more twigs and sticks and branches, as well as birch bark, which is good for making a strong roof to keep out the rain. The little man was very good at building, and in no time a new wooden cottage stood on the edge of the shore. "We still don't have any clothes to wear," wailed the girl. "We'll worry about that tomorrow," said the little man. "For now, it's getting dark and cold, and it's time for bed." Look at their new little cottage. He tucked them into their new bed, and they fell fast asleep. Soon their mother came home with a boat full of cotton, enough to make lots of new clothes. Where is Hat Cottage? She cried. And why all the ashes? Oh dear, tell me what happened. The little man sat the little woman down gently and told her the story. We've lost all our belongings, said the little woman. I have no money and no one to help me. What shall we do? Marry me, said the little man. I'll help you look after the children. We can live in my cozy tree stump in the winter, and here on the sunny island in the summer. The little woman smiled and said yes, and before long they were married by Pastor Mole. The children had beautiful new clothes for the wedding. The little woman and the little man were happy. The little woman sang merrily when she did the washing. The children were happy too, and when they were good, they sometimes had sweet honey cakes to eat. I like that story. I like both of those stories. The thing I like best about that story is just how ready the little man is to help. And when something bad happens, or when things are tough, it's great to find someone to help and to look for the people who are helping. That story is really fun too because we really like in our house to make little hat cottages. We made a hat cottage out of this one. This has a nice front door for a space hat cottage. And we have little bear hat cottage. Perfect for bears. Nice little place. Interior, good square footage. You can even make a gas mask hat cottage. And if you make hat cottages for your little animals, we'd love to see pictures of those too. Thank you for coming to my house today. It was great to see you. I hope you're doing well in yours. Please keep in touch. We'll have story times 3 times a week. So we'll see you, Mrs. Mary, we'll see you on Wednesday at 1:30, and then every Friday at 1:30 as well. So thank you for joining us, and have a great day. Bye!